In the last decade, nostalgia has been the driving force of our media. In the movies, remakes of Star Wars, Terminator, Ghostbusters, etc. have been the name of the game. In video games, this nostalgia can be seen in the indie game market, specifically in the re-emergence of 2D pixel art games. But how is it that such a simple game made by a handful of people can create the same appreciation from a gamer as a game backed by an army of corporate employees and millions of dollars? I am looking for the answer in the city of Haarlem, which is located in the Netherlands. Haarlem is the city of renowned painter Frans Hals. Behind me is the Franz Hals Museum, which has the biggest collection of Frans Hals' work. Frans Hals was known for his loose, painterly brush technique, which basically means if you get close to the painting, you can literally see the brushstrokes. Frans Hals' paintings initially catch your eye because of the expressiveness in his faces. Theodore Scrivilius said of his friend, "Hals surpasses everyone with his superb and uncommon manner of painting, which is uniquely his. For his paintings, there's such a force and vitality that he seems to surpass nature itself with his brush. This can be seen in his portraits, which are so numerous and colored in such a way as though they seem to breathe and live." Frans Hals painted with quick brushstrokes. At the time, there was a debate among artists and their clients as to what style was better, rough or smooth. Smooth art is more detailed. It's technically better in the sense that it requires more strategy, more detail. Clearly, realism was better than the rough style. But a true art connoisseur at the time recognized the great qualities of Frans Hals' rough style. The paint is laid down effortlessly, demonstrating the ability of the artist. The quick brushstrokes leave out a lot of detail, but capture the moment with a sketch-like approach. One pupil of Rembrandt described Frans Hals' paintings as seeing a friend in twilight. The effortlessness comes through the painting and makes the subject more animated and lifelike than the stiff, smooth paintings.
Van Hals laat er niemand onberoerd. Je word daardoor uitgedaagd. En dat is niet alleen in de karakters die hij weergeeft en die je echt gewoon kunt lezen, maar ook in de manier waarop het geschilderd is. Heel snel, heel vlot, met hele korte toetsen, trefzeker, heel los. En dat is natuurlijk geniaal dat je dat kunt.
Juist door die hele grove, losse schilderstijl van Hals lukt het hem om de suggestie te wekken dat je mensen op een plotseling moment ziet. Doordat hij precies die dingen die het belangrijkst waren benadrukt, maar de details weglaat, geeft hij de kijker als het ware de ruimte om de rest zelf in te vullen. En daardoor lijkt een figuur des te meer tot leven te komen.
Just like pixel art, Frans Hals leaves out a lot of details, so the observer is left to interpret. Their imagination fills the vacuum left by the lack of detail. This phenomenon of leaving out details in order for the viewer to use their imagination to project themselves into the medium can also be seen in scary movies such as Alien and The Thing. H.P. Lovecraft said, "The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is the fear of the unknown." The idea here is that the less we see of the monsters, the scarier that they become.
What you're about to see may disturb you.
Move, children! Vámonos!
Está atrás de garage! Está atrás de ahí! It's behind!
Oh!
Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation 1, while not pixel art, forces the audience to use their imagination in its utilization of simple, blocky figures. While this was due to the technological restrictions of 1997, the blocky figures allowed the viewer to project themselves into the characters. Similar to reading a book, the characters are given flesh, voice, and depth by imagination of the viewer. The game provides a sandbox for the imagination to explore. Masahi Takahashi, producer at Square Enix, said, "In the Super Famicom era, people tried to get to the limits of their hardware. And what they did was the limits of what they could do. And we enjoyed the games because beyond those limits, we tried to imagine what they couldn't express directly on the screen." If modern games are as photorealistic as a film, then pixel art is reading a novel. In the Final Fantasy VII Remake, the more enhanced hardware creates a more realistic game. The player's imagination takes a back seat to more polished character models and voice actors. The player no longer projects themselves into the amorphous, blocky characters. It is the developers who fill in the blanks.
Freeze! Move and we shoot!
Pixel art, just like the paintings of Frans Hals, captures a gamer's imagination with effortlessness and fun. While his rough, sketchy style was not initially accepted in the art community, it ultimately became recognized as a niche market for the more refined Dutch art connoisseur. While many other Dutch Golden Age artists left their cities of origin to go to bigger cities like Amsterdam, Frans Hals lived and worked in the city of Haarlem his whole life, until he died and was buried in the church behind me, the Grote Kerk. 200 years later, artists such as Van Gogh would look back to Frans Hals for inspiration. In writing to his brother, he said, "What a joy it is to see a Frans Hals, and how different it is from the paintings, so many of them, where everything is carefully smoothed out in the same manner." Artists like Van Gogh were reassured in their style, and it helped launch the Impressionist movement, to the point where, literally, in Seurat's paintings, you have pixels. So are these small indie game companies pumping out nostalgia, or are they sowing the seeds for an innovative new style of gaming that we'll get to see in the next decade? Let me know in the comments below.